Hey, what's up guys? It is Psycho or Sam here and welcome back to another video guys, and today I'm very excited to bring you guys my brand new series on this channel. The name is going to be Let's Make, and either Let's Make or Let's Create, I don't know. And basically what we're gonna be doing is that in every pretty much like chapter, I guess, like every episode is going to be a new episode of the chapter, and every chapter is going to be like a new game or a new game system that we're going to be creating on this channel by using mainly C#. And if people suggest me to use JavaScript sometimes, I can use that too. But primarily we're going to be focusing on C#, and I'm going to teach you guys how to make a game. Let that be, 2D games, 3D games. And I thought that we could start with something really simple today, since it's the first episode. So I would like to welcome you guys. And I thought that we could start with a really simple game once again, which is going to be like a rollerball game. And if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments down below that you actually enjoyed it, and leave a like if you truly did. And these factors really do support me. And I also want you to leave a comment because I want to know what kind of suggestions and recommendations you guys have in terms of what games you would like to see being created on this channel. But without further ado guys, I want to get started with this video. So basically, first and foremost, I have a brand new project that I created. It's completely empty, as you can see in the assets folder, and I have no directories at all. And I have not created any prefabs, I have nothing specific in my scene, it's literally just a new scene. And I just basically created a new scene by going to File, New Scene, and by default you're gonna have a main camera and you're gonna have a directional light in your scene. So what I'm gonna do here is that I'm basically going to first and foremost create a plane, and to do that you go to Game Object, 3D Object, and then pick Plane. So now you have a 3D plane in your scene, and I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. But at the same time, I'm going to be descriptive and all that, but I'm not going to be completely newbie friendly. Like, I'm going to assume that you guys have a not a brief knowledge, but somewhat a knowledge of Unity and how to use its API and so on. But once again, I am going to be newbie friendly too. So if you're new to C#, if you're new to Unity, you're welcome here, and you won't have a very difficult time. And if you feel like you're having some trouble, you don't really understand a specific part, even if you think that it's a stupid question or like an easy answer, but you can't really seem to find it, just ask me in the comments down below, and people will answer it too. So my community here is very interactive, so that really makes me happy to see. But basically, I just created a new plane, and what I'm going to do is that I am basically going to just scale it, and I'm going to make it a little bit more narrow. So as you can see, it's quite wide right now. It's almost like a rectangle. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make it almost like a path. So it's gonna be quite narrow, and I'm also going to make it a little bit longer. There we go. And I think that should be enough. So what we're gonna be doing is basically I'm going to create like a really simple scene, and the rollerball is going to consist of a sphere, and the enemies that I was thinking of will consist of like cubes, and perhaps we can use some capsules to have like points to pick up and such. And maybe we're gonna I mean, what I've been thinking is that since this is like one chapter, which is going to be one game, we're gonna have several episodes on this, meaning that we're going to be adding new features every episode. So if you have like a new feature that we'd like to have added to the game, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll make sure to include that in the next video too. So we increase the size of our plane here, and I'm gonna go right away to the plane, and I'm going to name it ground, just so that we make sure to know what this game object is. I don't really want a game object in my hierarchy that is called for plane, because I want it to be quite simple, both for you guys and for me. And next up, what I'm gonna do is basically I'm going to move my camera a little bit behind, like backwards, so that I almost have it at one end of this ground plane that we just created. So I'm pretty much going to have it here. Like, it doesn't have to be outside the plane. It's like the farther back you have it, the better it is for your game, because basically this is going to be our level. So the ball is going to be rolling, and we're gonna have some cubes on this plane, every now and then, and we're gonna have some points. And I thought that I could also create something like an infinite level generator soon. So I could show you guys how to code that, but I would actually have to go in and check it out myself, test it out, and make sure that I'm sharing some valuable information with you guys. So, but you know, I can do that. So let me know if you would like to see that. But that's gonna come in a future episode. So what we're gonna do now is I'm actually going to add the player sphere, which is going to be the ball that is going to be rolling and controlled by the player. So as you can see, it's a little bit like disaligned right now. So a very easy way of aligning an object where you actually want it to be is by making it a child of something that is already aligned, such as the main camera here. So as you can see, the main camera is exactly in the middle. So what I can do is I can actually basically, I just want to start by calling sphere for player. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the player a child object of the main camera. Basically, technically, I'm just going to highlight player, drag it and drop it onto main camera. There we go. And inside of transform in the inspector, inside of transform, I'm going to change the position X, Y, and Z, every single one of them to 0. That's going to make the local position, or actually the global position as well, of this new sphere that we created the same as the main camera. Basically, it's going to be aligned. So what I'm going to do next is I am going to just pull it forward a little bit so that I can see it with my camera. So because I don't want it to be inside of my camera, obviously. And I'm going to scale it down a little bit because you can see that it's quite big right now. And I don't want it to be that big. There we go. And I can move it forward a little bit more just to make sure that the player is not, you know, distracted by the ball. Like, he should be able to see it and he should be able to play with the ball, but, you know, it shouldn't be distracting the player's viewport, if you're gonna say so. So now I'm going to drag the player back out from the main camera, meaning we are not going to have it as a child object anymore. In fact, I'm going to have the I could have the main camera as a, yeah, I'm actually going to do that. So I'm going to have main camera as a child object of the player now, meaning I just drag and drop main camera onto the player inside of my hierarchy. And that's as simple as it gets. And I think that we could actually start by creating the script now for the player. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go back to my assets folder and I'm going to right click, create, and then C# script. So this is going to create a new C# script, which should be quite obvious for a lot of people, but once again, I am trying to be as descriptive as possible. So if you feel like this is a little bit too much, let me know in the comments down below, or perhaps you feel like this is a little bit too less newbie friendly, so let me know in the comments down below and I'll try to improve for my next episode. So I'm just gonna call this player. That's the easiest name for the player because it's literally what it stands for. And I'm going to drag it and drop onto my player game object. Alternatively, you could just go to your player. Inside of the inspector, you could click on add component and then just search player. There we go. So yeah, and you can place the player script in whatever folder you want to in case you have a different project that you're working on. But I would suggest you to actually have a specific project just for this tutorial or this tutorial series pretty much. So because we're going to be creating a lot of games and perhaps you don't really want to interfere with your original projects that you're working on, whatever you're making. So it could be a little bit more clean to actually work on an empty project like this. So yeah, now that you have added the component player onto your player game object, you're gonna want to click it inside of the inspector or alternatively in the projects tab. And I'm using Visual Studio once again, and that was in the wrong monitor, so I just moved it to my main monitor. I'm using 2 monitors, and you can use MonoDevelop, you can use whatever compiler you want to. Alternatively, I do suggest people to use brackets, but Visual Studio is the best one for Unity IMO. So I would suggest you to grab it for free if you can. And yeah, so now I'm going to start by creating a comment here. So I just click / 2 times and that's a comment, and it's gonna get marked in green if you're using Visual Studio. In different compilers, I'm not sure about the color. It's probably in the preference settings, so that's gonna be there. But basically you just type 2 slashes and it's gonna create a comment, and you want to write player related variables. There we go. And I just click enter once and I type public float movement speed. Oh, that's the wrong spelling. Movement speed. There we go. So movement speed, I type it with a small m at the start, or lowercase m, and then a uppercase s, just to mark that it's quite a new word. So what this is going to do is basically it's going to create a new variable, which is going to be a float. If you don't know what float is, it's basically a number that can have a decimal in it. So if you're familiar with using integers, which is int, you're probably gonna know that it's not supporting decimals. So in order to use a decimal, you're actually going to want to use floats. So that's as simple as it gets, really. And let's see here. So I want to write public void start. Oh, that's a opening bracket and then closing curly brackets. If you forget about that. And I also want to create a new void called the public void update. So just quickly run through, public void start, or void start in general, is going to be ran when the game starts. So as soon as the game starts, it's going to be run once, only one time. And the public void update, or void update in its own, is going to be run every single frame in the game. So whenever you want to like move the character, which we're going to be doing now, you want to write it inside a public void update. So speaking of which, I want to create the movement for the players. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw another comment here and say player movement. There we go. And then enter once again, and I'm going to click let's see, I was thinking that we're going to be like clicking a key or holding down a key for moving the player, but we're actually going to make it so that the player moves automatically. So we're going to say transform dot translate inside of parentheses vector3 dot forward, and I'm going to tell you what this code actually does, and just in a bit. So we're saying transform dot translate vector3 forward inside of parentheses, this part. And we're going to multiply that by, let's see here, time.delta time times movement speed. There we go. Should be fine. So basically, we're calling the transform component, and translate pretty much means that we're going to be moving this, this unit that we're actually playing around with, or a game object, whatever you want to call it. And vector3 is basically a vector, which you should probably know by your math classes, but if you don't know, vectors are basically like points in 3D worlds that you can move to, and vector3 basically means 3D movement. So there's also vector2, which is 2D movement, so up and down, and left and back, or left and right. There we go. I don't know why that was so difficult. So we're using vector3 dot forward, meaning that we're going to be moving this unit forward. And we're multiplying that by basically time.delta time, because we're going to be doing that every second. So time.delta time pretty much means every second. And we're also multiplying that whole thing by movement speed, because we obviously want to use the movement speed for the player that we actually created as a variable in the previous step. So that's pretty much it. And I can actually go back to the game, basically to Unity, and try this out really simple just. And what you don't want to forget about, guys, you want to go back to Unity, and as soon as you enter Unity, you want to change the movement speed from 0 to something like 10, just to test. And if you have it on 0 or forget it on 0, it's not going to move your player. So if you have like a trouble where your player doesn't move, it's probably that. In case you didn't write the code wrong. So yeah, just check that out, and if you're still having trouble, you can let me know. And after changing that, we're gonna play the game, and you can see that the player is moving, but this is quite fast, so I'm going to take that to 5 instead, just to see how fast this is now, just to make sure that it's not way too fast, because we want the player to be able to react to such scenarios. And that seems fine. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna create the left and right movement for the player. So we're gonna say if input.get key down key code.a, and we're gonna say we could either move it. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that. So you can just say transform dot translate vector3 dot left. It's left, right? Yeah. And the same thing again, you could actually just copy paste the code, but I do suggest you strongly to actually write it by yourself because you're gonna memorize the code easier. So if you want to learn, this is a very, very good way of, and a very efficient way of learning. So just do that. Time dot delta time, and then once again the movement speed. Or we could actually have like movement speed -2. So what we're gonna do is basically I'm going to check the speed inside of Unity once again for left and right movement and see if it's way too fast. If it is too fast, because we obviously want it to be a little bit challenging for the player. If it's going to be fast, too fast, we're actually going to change that up. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that as well. And we created the left movement, so we're gonna actually, I am going to copy paste this code because I already know the code. But once again, I do suggest you guys strongly to just look at your code or mine and just code it by yourself, like if input.get key down, key code D, and so on. So what we're gonna do here is basically key code A is going to be changed to D because we obviously wanna use the A and D keys. And also vector3.left is going to be vector3.right. So it's pretty much the same, but you know, it's just a couple of changes in order to make it work with a different key and also to move the player to a different position. So I'm gonna play the game, and oh, and also I forgot about something. So if you play the game, you're gonna realize that you have to click every single time you want to move the unit or the player. And in order to make it so that you can hold the button down or the buttons down, you can actually go back to C# or your compiler. I'm gonna say like Visual Studio, but I hope you guys understand what I mean. So you can go back to your Visual Studio compiler or whatever, and inside of if input.get key down, you want to change get key down to just get key. So just remove the part of where it says down, and that's pretty much it. So you save once again and go back to Unity. There we go. And should be working fine now. So we're gonna go into the game, and you can see that I can move left and right. Nice. And at the same time, obviously the player is moving forward. You can see in the scene window, it's not really remarkable or noticeable inside of my game window because obviously we're moving the player constantly and there's no obstacle that is going to be measuring the speed or the distance from the player to that object. And I think that is pretty much it, guys. Before I end this episode here, I just want to make this a little bit longer, or not longer, but wider. There we go. And I'm talking about the ground. So you can just click on ground inside of your scene window or inside of your hierarchy, and just increase the what do you say, width? There we go. The width a little bit, not too much. Obviously you can make it suit your feelings and suit your game, but I want to have it like this because this way was a little bit too narrow. The player was not going to be free to move, and you saw that the speed is also very high, so you know you want to make sure that the playground pretty much, or the level, is big enough for the player to move actually freely. So even if you're having like a fast-paced game, you know, you want to make sure that it's movable and you have the freedom of movement. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I want to end this episode here just to make sure that I keep it simple and clean. And next episode we're gonna get into enemies and or like obstacles that you touch and then you die or the game restarts. And I'm also planning to get into some points, and I am planning to get into like jumping if we have some time left. And that's pretty much it. I know that this was a way too simple episode, but I just want to make sure that, you know, I try out this too. And if you guys think this is way too simple or it's taking too much time for me to tell you guys what to do, you can let me know in the comments down below, give me some feedback, and I'll improve by that to my next episode and make it more efficient or less efficient. Like, not less efficient in that way, but not in a bad way, but, you know, just to make sure that you guys understand and you can keep up the pace. So I don't want to be way too fast, but I don't want to be way too slow either. So I want to find a balance, and in order to do that, I must upload some videos to test you guys out and see what you think actually of them. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. I hope you all enjoyed. It's also the first chapter and first episode of this new series that we just created. And I'm really excited for this because a lot of people have been telling me to make games on my YouTube channel as a tutorial. And finally, I'm starting off with it. And we're also going to get into really, really deep and advanced games. But we're obviously starting with something really simple just to just to like measure your guys' skill level in programming, Unity, level designing, whatever you can name. And just to make sure that everyone keeps the pace and everyone understands what we're doing and not just blindly following my tutorial and being like, yay, I'm creating a game, because that's obviously not it. So you want to be able to learn, and I'm gonna try my best to keep teaching you guys how to do it. So, and in order to do it the best way possible, I need to get some feedback from you guys. So let me know in the comments down below, guys, what you thought of this episode. If you feel like I can improve something, let me know. Make sure to let me know. That's very important. And if you enjoyed this episode, also leave a like down below. It really supports me a lot. I check these likes to see what the amount of people that like the video is, because I want to see how much it gets appreciated. So it's like a standard that I set for my channel. And also, once again, leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you want to stay up to tune for new videos and new episodes of this series. Once again, I'm really excited for this, and I hope you guys are as well. And yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys later. Peace out.
Feeling the way that I'm feeling myself, fuck everyone else. Gotta remember that nobody's better than anyone else here.